Hi, and welcome to Yoga for Normal People. Today, you may be wondering why I am sitting in an office chair. I've had a lot of requests recently to do a couple of stretches for folks that spend a lot of time sitting, especially as we work from home a lot more, and especially as we sit in things like desk chairs or even, normal chairs in our house. So the only thing you're going to need today is if you have a tennis ball, great. I'm using actually a lacrosse ball. This will help work some of the tension out of hips and stuff. So first things first, just make sure that you're set up in your chair correctly. One of the big things about working from home is that, we often choose positions that are very uncomfortable in our bodies. We hunch, we sit in our beds, we do a lot of other sort of movements that aren't really conducive to staying upright and keeping our breathing free and keeping our shoulders relaxed, our necks relaxed, our low backs relaxed. So first things first, just take your feet underneath your knees at the edge of your chair. And if you want, you can sit your hips back towards the back of the seat. And just make sure that the arms are at a level that you're not hunching, you're not sort of sinking down into the seat. You'll see Gusto has joined us today. But just make sure that you have like a nice long position where your shoulders are able to drop down from your ears, but your elbows are resting lightly on the arms of that chair. So this is a practice you can do at your desk without even getting up. And it's good to kind of do a little movement every hour or so, just so that you don't end up being so sort of static and what I like to joke is like that shrimp shape. So as you sit, just take a couple deep breaths and notice the sense of your hips sinking down into the chair. Imagine that your pelvis, the points of your pelvis, are making an indent on the seat of that chair. Allow the weight of your legs, your feet, to feel the floor. And allow your elbows to gently rest on those armrests. And as you breathe, imagine filling up your belly. So the low belly will expand as you inhale, and as you exhale, imagine drawing your belly towards your spine. We'll take 2 more breaths just like this. And then when you're ready, you can just gently take your hands and place them on the armrests of that chair, drawing your elbows back behind you and lifting your heart. So just taking a slight back bend. And if I turn to the side, you can see that as I move my hands to the armrests and draw my elbows back, my heart lifts just slightly. So I'm taking my hands in line with my rib cage. And then on my exhale, I'm going to round through the shoulders, round through the head, let my chin come towards my chest. And then inhale, lift my chest, draw my elbows back, gaze towards the ceiling. Exhale to round. So this is just a little cat-cow as you sit. Inhale to lift, draw the elbows back. You'll feel the stretch across the front of your chest. Exhale to round. Inhale to lift, draw those shoulder blades down your back. And then my favorite thing to do is actually walk my hands slightly forward so that fingertips come in line with just the front of my rib cage. And here, what I'd like you to do is just, again, draw your elbows back. And then take your left ear towards your left shoulder. And just feel that stretch in the right side of your neck. And if you'd like, you can start to drop that right shoulder slightly forward and draw that left elbow more back to sort of deepen the stretch. Take an inhale, roll that right shoulder back, and then let your head come back up to center. And then on your exhale, just drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. And drop your left shoulder towards your desk or towards the front of the room, and draw that right shoulder slightly back. Feeling that stretch into the left side of the neck. And then inhale, draw the shoulders back in line with one another and slowly lift your head, and then you can release your hands. Before we move on to doing legs and hips, what I'd like to show you is a little thing that I like to do just as a way to release wrists, especially as we sit at the desk and mouse and type and all kinds of things. What I like to do is take your hands into prayer position, and then you're going to just press your fingers out. So if I turn to the side, you can see I'll take my hands to prayer, and I'm pressing the palms together, and then release. You can do that a couple more times. And then once you've done that, I've actually scooted to the front edge of my chair, and I'm going to take my hands down around behind my back with my fingertips pointing up. So palms come to the curve of my low back, and I press the palms down towards my hips and lift my chest, drawing my elbows back and just stretching through the wrists, the fingertips, the chest, maybe lifting my gaze just a little. And then you can release and start to round the shoulders forward. Take your hands to your knees and let your head drop towards your chest. We'll do that one more time. So take the hands back around behind the back. Fingertips point up towards the rib cage. Palms press down towards the hips. Lift your heart. Draw your elbows back. And you can do this standing as well. Take an inhale here. And then on your exhale, round through the spine. Take your palms to the knees and round your neck and head towards your chest. And then take an inhale and come back up. We'll do one more thing for our shoulders and our necks. And here you can take your hands behind your head and interlace your fingers right at that base of where your head and your neck meet. So here you're just drawing the elbows out, lifting your head. And from the side you can see that as I press my head back into my hands, my heart lifts. I'm going to draw my elbows back. Take an inhale. And then on my exhale, I'm going to drop my left elbow towards that left armrest. Maybe getting there, maybe not. Stretching into the side body. And then inhale up through center. And I'll turn so you can see this from the front. And we're going to do the other side. So inhale, lift the heart. Press the head back into the hands. And then exhale, drop that right elbow towards the right armrest. Just opening up through the front body. And then inhale, come on up through center and release. And just do a couple of shoulder circles, noticing how your shoulders and your neck feel. Just letting them release. So one of the things that we deal a lot with when we sit a lot is tension in our hips, our hamstrings, and especially into the back of the calves and things. So one of my favorite tricks when I have to sit for long periods, even if I'm on an airplane or if I'm just stuck in one position, I like to just do a seated figure 4 stretch. And it's really simple. All you're going to do is pick up, say, your right foot, and you're going to cross it over your left knee. And then if you'd like, you can take that right hand to that right knee and just gently press it away from the shoulder. And here you want to try and keep your spine long, but find that natural curve. So we're not trying to straighten our spines. We're just trying to find that nice natural curve. And you're going to flex the sole of that right foot. Inhale to lift your chest. And if you'd like to deepen the stretch into the hip, you can lean slightly forward. And you'll feel a stretch into the outside line of your IT band, into that outside edge of the hip. Take an inhale here. And on your exhale, draw your belly button towards your spine and come back up to sit up straight. Then go ahead and uncross that right leg. So from the side, when we do the left, you're going to inhale, pick up that left foot, cross that left ankle over the right knee, and take your left hand to the top of that left knee. So I'm much stiffer on my left side, and I need a little bit more opening. So I'm going to press a little bit more on that left knee, lift my heart. And if you like, I have my right hand on my left ankle. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, you can just fold slightly forward. So I'm not rounding through my back. I'm actually hinging at the hip joints. Take an inhale here. And on your exhale, you can press yourself back up to your seat. And then just sort of pedal out the heels and the ankles. It's nice to sort of let those ankles roll a little bit, let things move. And then we're going to come into a seated staff pose. This is one of my favorites before we move into using our tennis ball or ball that we have around the house. I have tons of these around the house. My dog loves them. So if you have one, they're definitely great to use when you've been sitting for a long time. So for the seated staff pose, what you're going to do is take both legs out in front of you, flex through the soles of the feet so that the heels come down to the floor. And you're going to find a nice long spine. And if this is plenty for the hamstrings, stay here. If you'd like, you can pick up that right heel, cross it over the left, and I'm just going to put my hands on my chair so that it doesn't slide out from under me. It's got wheels, so don't want it to slide. And I'm just going to lean slightly forward. So you'll feel the stretch into the back of the hamstrings, the outside of that right leg, maybe into the left leg. Take an inhale and come back up. And I will turn to the side so you can see what that looks like from the side. So take both feet out long in front of you, flex through the soles of the feet, toes point towards the sky, and the heels rest on the floor. Take an inhale to get long. And then on your exhale, you can pick up that left foot, cross it over your right ankle, and lean slightly forward. So if you have a chair that doesn't have wheels on it, you don't have to hang on to it. It'll make it a little easier. And then on your inhale, come on up, back to sit. So those are a few little stretches you can do while you're seated. My next favorite thing is to actually use a tennis ball or a ball, a small ball, to release my glutes. When we sit a lot, we get like a lot of tension into the outside edges, so piriformis muscle of your hips. This is both magic and terrible, I'm not going to lie, but it helps, especially if you deal with like sciatica, if you deal with any kind of tension, especially in the hips. And it's, for me, I've had an injury for a long time that I've always dealt with, and this has been my magic bullet. So we'll start on the left side rather, and you're going to take that ball and you're just going to lift your hip up just a little and let it sit into that soft spot right at the base of your hip. And you should feel a sensation here. So you're just letting the point of your pelvis kind of sink down on in front of the ball. And it's just giving you a little pressure there. And you can stay here, or if you'd like to intensify it, you can come back into that figure 4 and press that left knee away. And then go ahead and release. And we can switch sides. So just reach down, grab that ball, and I will roll to the opposite side. My right side is my worst side, so this is going to be a little bit more tender. And what I'm going to do is just lift up, let the flesh of my hip sort of settle around that ball. I know, not super attractive, but it's fine. This is, after all, yoga for normal people. And then once I have that ball in the right position, I'm just going to let my pelvis sort of sink down, finding that impression that we had at the beginning of this little sequence. Feeling the impression of our pelvis on the seat beneath us. And then what you're going to do is pick up that right foot, cross it across your left knee, come into that figure 4 stretch. If you'd like, you can press down on that knee and just let that ball sort of do the work in there. This is like a trigger point release, so it can be intense. So if it becomes too uncomfortable, go ahead and pull the ball out and just take it easy. And then exhale. And you can release that right foot back down, reach down, grab the ball, and we're going to do one more thing for our hands and our wrists. So one of my favorite things to do with a ball is actually use it as a massage. And what I'm going to do is just expand out my right hand. Usually I'm right-handed, so my mouse hand is my right hand. I do a lot of the dominant stuff with my right hand when I'm working at the computer. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to find that soft spot right at the base of the thumb. And I'm just going to press and roll like I'm just sort of rolling some dough in that spot. And you can just do it with your hands facing one another. It feels kind of nice. And once you've done it in one direction, make sure you rotate to the other direction. And then what you can do is take your elbow to the chair arm and use that ball to just rub into the forearm. And as you do that, you can roll your wrist around and just kind of let it release. And these are all little exercises you can do in between waiting for an email to come in between a conference call, during a conference call. They're quiet enough that nobody will notice. And then once you've given yourself a little massage, you can take that ball and just place it off to the left and right. And then just come to sit. If you'd like, you can move yourself back in your chair once again, finding that natural curve, letting your feet rest on the floor. And just taking a couple deep breaths before returning to your work. Feeling the weight of your hips rest down on the seat. Take a few breaths. And then return to your work. Namaste.